King Arthur's Knights, Chapter 6, Part 4. "Thou miser," jeered one of the knights, "that was 2 months agone, and thou hast something more by now. Will this loose thy secret, carrion?" At the cruel torture the man shrieked aloud, and by reason of the pain his head sank, and he slid down the post in a swoon. And a young woman rushed forth, threw her arms about the hanging body, and with flashing eyes turned and defied the knights. Next moment it would have gone ill with her, but the voice of Sir Geraint rang out. "Ho there, Sir Knights," he cried, "or Sir Wolves, I know not which ye are. Have ye naught to do but squeeze poor peasants of mean savings?" The knights turned in rage and laughed and sneered when they saw but one solitary knight in old and rusty armor. "Ah, Sir Scarecrow," cried one, leaping on his horse, "I will spit thee for thy insolence." "Knock him down and truss him up with this starveling peasant," cried another. All now had mounted, and the first prepared to run at Sir Geraint, who backed his horse through the gateway into the open plain. Anon the first knight came, hurling himself angrily upon him. But deftly Sir Geraint struck the other's lance aside with his sword, and as the rider rushed past, he rose in his stirrups. His blade flashed, and then sank in the neck of the felon knight, who swayed in his saddle, and then crashed to the ground. Then the second horseman attacked him furiously, being wroth at the death of his companion. But Sir Geraint couched his lance and caught the other on the edge of his shield, and the spear passed through his body. And by good hap also he slew the other two, one with his lance, the other with his sword on foot. Enid, full of fear while the fighting was raging, felt gladness and sorrow when she saw how nobly her husband had smitten these torturers with justice. And she said that, of a truth, she had been wrong, and that there was no sloth in his heart, no weakness in the strong arm of her lord. Then Sir Geraint took off the armor from each of the four knights, and piled them on their horses, and tied them together, and bade her drive them before her. "And do thou go forward some way," said he sternly, "and say not one word to me unless I speak first unto thee." As he mounted his horse, the man that had been tortured came forward with his people and knelt before him, and kissed the mail-clad shoe on his stirrup. And in rude few words they thanked him tearfully, asking for his name, so that they could speak of him in their prayers. "I am called Sir Slothful," said Sir Geraint, "and I deserve not your worship. But hark ye, if other evil lords come upon these marches, and seek to oppress thee, tell them that though Sir Geraint sleeps now, he will soon awake, and they shall not stand before his vengeance." And so he rode on, leaving the poor folks marveling but happy. Then in a little while they came upon a high road, and the lady went on first. And for all his anger, Geraint was sorry to see how much trouble Enid had in driving the four horses before her. Yet how patient she was. Soon they beheld a wide valley below them, the fairest and richest in homesteads and farms that they had yet seen. A river ran through the middle of it, and the road on which they passed ran down to a bridge over the river, beyond which was a castle and a walled town. Sir Geraint took the road toward the bridge, and soon a knight came cantering toward him. "Fair sir," said Sir Geraint, "canst thou tell me who is the owner of this fair valley and that walled city?" "Of a truth," said the other, "these are the lands of King Griffith, whom men call the Little King. He holds them of King Urban, whose son that was so famous, men say, has become a worthless court dandy." "I thank thee for thy words, fair sir," said Geraint, and would pass on. "I would counsel thee not to attempt to cross the bridge," said the knight, "unless thou dost intend to fight the Little King. For armed strangers he will not suffer to pass, and I doubt me if thy arms are of much use to thee." And the knight smiled at the rusty arms and shield of Sir Geraint. "Nevertheless," said Sir Geraint, "though my arms are old, I will go this way." "If thou dost so," said the knight, "thou wilt meet with shame and defeat, for the little king is a man of giant strength." But Sir Geraint passed down toward the bridge and crossed it, and went along the road toward the town. Presently Sir Geraint heard the sound of hoofs behind him, and looking round he saw a knight following him upon a great black horse, tall and stately, and stepping proudly. The knight was the smallest that Sir Geraint had ever seen. When the stranger had come up to him, he said, "Tell me, fair sir, is it by presumption or by ignorance that thou comest armed along this road?" "I knew not that in any of the lands of King Urban a peaceful man, though he be armed, could not go without hindrance," replied Sir Geraint. "That was so," replied the knight, "when King Urban's son Sir Geraint was a man of prowess, not a soft fool. Then his name alone kept his borders clean of robber lords and bandit knights. But now that he is less than naught, I myself must keep my land clean of thieves in rusty armor that would frighten and oppress poor folk." "Nevertheless," said Sir Geraint, "I will travel by this road, and ye hinder me at your peril." "Have at thee, then," said the little knight, and together they spurred toward each other. Sir Geraint marveled to feel how powerful were the lance strokes of the little man, while, as for himself, so high was the little knight's horse, and so small was the rider, that he was hardly able to get a good blow at him. But they jousted until at the third bout the little king's lance broke short, and then they dismounted and lashed at each other with their swords. At first Sir Geraint thought it was nigh unseemly that one so strong and tall as himself should have to do with so small a knight. But if he thought that he had advantage in his longer reach and greater strength, he quickly saw his error. For the little king was a man of marvelous strength and agility, and for all Sir Geraint's knowledge and strength, the other strokes were so boldly fierce, so quick and powerful, that it was not long ere Sir Geraint found he had need of great wariness. Soon their helmets were cracked and their shields dented and carved and their hauberks in rags, and hardly could they see between the bars of their visors, for the sweat and blood in their eyes. Then at last Sir Geraint, enraged that one so small should give him so much trouble to conquer, gathered all his strength in one blow, so that the little king was beaten to his knees, and the sword flew from his hands 10 yards away. "I yield me," cried King Griffith, "and never have I fought with so valiant and strong a knight. Have mercy and spare me, and I will be thy man." "Be it so," said Sir Geraint, "but thou hast already sworn to be my man." And he lifted up his visor and showed his face, whereat the little king did off his own helm quickly, and came and kneeled humbly before him. "Sir Geraint," he said, "forgive me my words concerning thee. But men told me that ye had forgotten that you had once been so glorious a man, and were softening to a fool." "Nay," said Sir Geraint, "they were the fools that said so. And now I will depart, for I see these marches are in safe keeping in your hands, fair king." But the little king wished Geraint to come to his castle to be rested and healed of his wounds. And Geraint and Enid went and abode there for a few days. But ever Sir Geraint was cold and stern to his wife, for he was still angry at her disbelief in him. Sir Geraint would not stay longer, though his wounds were but half healed, and on the third day he commanded Enid to mount her horse and to go before him with the 4 other horses. While the sun climbed up the sky, they rode through the wilderness, by tangled woods, deep valleys, and quaking marshes, until they reached a deep, dark forest. Suddenly, as they rode, they heard a great wailing of distress, and bidding Enid to stay, Geraint dashed through the trees toward the crying, and came out upon a great bare upland. And beside the wood were a knight, dead in his armor, and 2 horses, one with a woman's saddle upon it. And looking further, Geraint saw 3 small, dark, shaggy trolls making swift away up the hill toward a great green mound, and in the arms of one of them was a damsel, who shrieked as she was borne away. Fiercely Sir Geraint spurred his horse up the slope, bidding the trolls to stop, but they only ran with an exceedingly great swiftness. But he pursued them, and when they were within a few steps of a small door in the hillside, the one dropped the maiden, and the 3 of them turned at bay, and the damsel ran shrieking away down the hill. The trolls had dark, thin faces with curly black hair and fierce black eyes, and their rage was horrible to see. They were lightly clothed in skins, and in their arms they held one a bar of iron, another a great club, and the third a long, sharp stick. Sir Geraint commended his soul to heaven, for he knew he was to battle with evil dwarves who lived in the hollow hills, and whose strength was greater than any man's, and whose powers of wizardry were stronger than Merlin's. He dashed with his lance at the one with the iron bar, but the hill troll slipped away and brought the great bar with a heavy blow upon his lance, so that it was snapped in twain. Then one leaped like a wildcat upon the arm that held the rein, but happily Sir Geraint had drawn his sword, and with one stroke slew him. Then the others leaped toward him, but the blows of the bar and club he caught upon his shield, and slew the troll with the club. Ere Sir Geraint could draw his sword back from this blow, he felt his horse fall under him, for the dwarf with the iron bar had with one blow broken the beast's back. And we'll pause here, and we'll try and finish this chapter in the next video. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.